Alrighty. Now we're live. I thought I pressed the live button, but I guess I didn't. But let me double check that we're streaming on Twitch. That's the wrong link. I know I probably saw some of y'all this morning already at Staying Global Hack Week, but let's see. Alrighty. We are in fact live. Chat is quiet. Which fair. For me it's still morning, so still getting used to being awake, especially as the school year starts up. But we also get our stuff up. Cool. So if you haven't had a chance to check in, here's a link in chat. And then, of course, our to-do list. As big as I can make it. I know that this is not going to turn up as zoomed in as I would like, but that's okay. And let me also save that. So as you're coming in, go ahead and register for the event. Make sure you get those points. And we'll start going over the to-do list in like a minute or two. But let's see. My brain is like slow at the moment, which is fine. It's only Monday. There's chat. Hello. Alrighty. So rule of thumb for my streams, if you can't see something, can't hear something, let me know. Otherwise, you won't be comfortable. I'll do my best to zoom in as much as I can on things. I have some pretty good monitors, which means you should get some high quality stuff. My internet is less quality. But if you're on mobile or if you're on a laptop or iPad or tablet or otherwise, I know that sizing is very important, especially when you're following along. So I'll do my best to manage that. I wanted music. I was in the middle of doing that. What am I feeling? Let's turn the volume down on this. I always like this one. This one's fun. Oh my gosh! Hello! Welcome to your first MLH event. Or I guess it's your first week, maybe. Who knows? But welcome. Maybe that's too loud, actually, so that way people can actually hear me and they're not distracted. I know I feel that way sometimes. That should be good. Okay, cool. So we have some background music. We've got our to-do list up. People are jumping in the chat or leaving. That works too. But let's go over what we're doing this week, which is that this is a 3-part stream. Even though it was not clear on the schedule, that's my bad. I forgot to add the like part 1, part 2, part 3. So when they uploaded things, it did not include that. There's a lot going on, but that's okay. So my hope for these next 3 streams is I actually specifically chose a project that I've seen a lot in the last hackathon season. ChatGPT is super affordable and it's a great AI model to work with and whatnot. And there's plenty of different things you can do with it. But I kind of wanted to get ahead of the hackathon season to really challenge people to do more than just ChatGPT for X. So that's what this is for. This is like the ChatGPT for X analyzer, I guess, is the technical term these days, I guess. But I've seen a lot of using ChatGPT to evaluate your resume, or ChatGPT to help you prep for your interviews, or ChatGPT to manage your schoolwork, or all sorts of different like applications. And that was the theme last year. And so I'm really excited to see what it'll be this year or this season. But I also, again, want to challenge people to like do more than just ChatGPT for X. So as this workshop will hopefully be, it'll be your jumping off point. We'll get the ChatGPT for X out of the way. So when you go and attend events, whether online or in person, you're like, I already did ChatGPT for X. I want to do ChatGPT whatever else you want to do. Because you already have an idea of how it works, you'll be better situated to like use ChatGPT in more creative ways than what I've been seeing. That's not to say that they suck, because they don't. And that's not to say that they're bad or that they're not good or anything. I want to make sure that people have an edge in their projects that they put on their resume, or that the projects they submit to a hackathon, because having a more unique projects means it is more you'll stand out more, basically. Which, great job. You should probably pay attention in class. This is recorded. Come back later. Go be a good student. You don't have to be a student in this class right here, right now. But I mean, maybe if you're listening or whatever, you'll pick up like some tips and tricks for entrepreneuring your project, I guess. Have to have it muted. Okay. You should probably pay attention to class. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's okay. Well, for those of you that are here, able to listen, etc., again, you can also watch this later. We are doing this in Flask, predominantly because it's like really easy to just spin up everything. And I took lots of notes when I was spinning up the sample project that I wanted to create. It is not a pretty project. No one's going to see that project. But if we happen to get stuck, that's my backup plan, because I'm really tired of having bugs that eat whole streams. And I really want to like make sure that people have a good starting point. But for those who have never been to a stream by me before, if you happen to sit in on the datasets one, that was more about me yapping. This one is me actually doing things. I will say that even though I'm a PhD student, I do social sciences work in engineering, which means I don't actually code all the time. And so what that means is my coding knowledge is like my conceptual knowledge, great, fantastic. I have like 2 degrees, it's great. My actual coding knowledge of like libraries and frameworks that might make life easier are like Zippo, which is why I usually ask chat to be a little bit more active in that, like, hey, if you know something that's like better or should be used, or like you have an opinion you'd like to share, like tell me, so that way we're not struggling on like something that we could have just found a library to make it easier. Work smarter, not harder. But sometimes I don't know what's out there, even if I Google things, because I just don't have the words or I don't have the exposure. So feel free to chime in if you find out like, hey, this bug that you're having could be fixed with this. Sometimes people will jump into chat and say like, hey, I can't get this thing installed. Like somebody else in chat can obviously jump in, especially if I can't always solve it. I do try to make sure that this is consumable, but I do try to make sure we have at least a functional end project. Doesn't always happen, but that is live coding. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it at hackathons. It's not new. It's just learning how to work under pressure. So you're also welcome to ask me like general questions, whatever. I'll occasionally like check in on them, or like opinions on things within reason. I cannot give legal advice, etc. Yada yada. That's illegal. But yeah. So let's get into actually doing stuff. So if you are, you can use your preferred IDE. I actually use Visual Studio Code just because I prefer it for these days. Whoops, I wanted to zoom in so that way people can read it. That's good. Okay. We'll close that. Actually, we'll do this and that. So we're also going to be using Copilot a little bit because that's how I went about doing this project. And I wanted to show you how someone might integrate using Copilot without like just copying without knowing. We might actually ask ChatGPT some things depending on where we go. But the whole point is like, think of this as you are a hacker. You have sat down. You are making your ChatGPT for X project. Like, what are you going to do? But there's a bit of setup stuff that I will actually spend the time on instead of like rushing through it like a hackathon person would or hacker would, because it's good to just have a good starting environment, all that kind of stuff. But just showing you like ways you can do it on the fly, with AI being as integrated as it has become. So I do have Copilot set up on my Visual Studio Code. If you attended the Copilot workshop, you might already have it, depending on your like education pack validation. You may not, that's okay. There are plenty of opportunities to come back to these because again, these streams are recorded. So you can see I have some things already checked off, which is just that like, I need to make sure things work before we start. And what that means is I'm like, okay, let me double check that my Python version is up to date, or that I have a Flask and like a library installed. In the past, when I've done Python projects, I tend to use Conda. I have since uninstalled Conda because I'm so tired of it just like eating so much of my storage. I know there's mini Conda, but I'm like, you know what? This is a good challenge for me to learn VN or a virtual environment, knowing that there's so many different things you could use in Python to create a virtual environment. And what am I even saying with a virtual environment? Well, the way that Python works is that its packaging system sucks. That's the reality. There's so many different things you could use to create a better packaging system as if you were doing JavaScript, where you need different versions for different projects and you only want libraries locally installed, that kind of stuff. So virtual environment is mimicry of that, basically, in very simplistic terms. You are welcome to Google as you like. Let's go ahead and open a terminal. And let's close that. And I may have to take a quick break to refill my water bottle, because I forgot to do that before stream started. But yeah, so we have our to-do list. This will guide the next 3 streams, which you can see I've got some preliminary things. I've got like the tips and tricks for what we should go over as far as setting up the environment, what I did to actually make things. This is my like checklist to make sure I've done things. Get OpenAI. I already have like just $10 loaded on an OpenAI account. So I already have an API key developed. We'll probably talk a little bit about that later today's stream. And then here's some initial project ideas for that like X part. Like, what are we replacing it with? So like I've talked about, we see resume reviewers, we see like paper summarizes, general questions, like general chat bots kind of thing. But I came up with some more ideas of like, what if I wanted to write me Jeopardy questions? And then how do I check like the answers are maybe correct if I actually went and made a game? Or like, I really like to travel, but I don't always know what to do or how to plan my trip. So maybe we want to do like a travel suggestions bot where we like pre-seed a prompt with ChatGPT so it'll do stuff. And what if you decided that you wanted to use ChatGPT not in Flask and Python, but in something completely else? So we may cover that today. It might be next stream. But as you can see, our goal for today is set up ChatGPT in the prompting, set up Flask, make it do the thing. These seem very simple, but with the way that I find bugs, we will probably eat an hour and a half. Part 2 will be more about speedrunning an idea, setting it all up. It doesn't have to look pretty. And then what if we're, again, putting that hacker hat on, like, how do we make sure this is a project that we can actually win something with? So you can see I'm talking about scope, feature listing, selling it to judges, etc. And then part 3 will be, as always, debugging, wrapping it up, demonstrating it, and how to make ours unique. So now that we've given an overview of our 3-part stream, let's check chat. You can find me here right now. Yeah, so chat already is answering this question a little bit, but is there any significant benefit to using virtual environments? And the short answer is yes, always. The longer answer is always it depends. But as Gray Sheep has answered, is that it helps you install things not globally. So when you're in your programming classes or when you start or when you've like moved on from them, you may have been told like, don't use global variables. They're very frowned upon. And that's just because you don't want something having complete access. Let's say that like Google Chrome is technically globally installed because all users can use Chrome, or all users could use like Visual Studio Code. But a way to make it like local, it might be that it's user restricted. So like only install an application for a user. So if I had another user on my computer, like my cat Peanut, who I don't think you can see in the window actually, but she is there. Let's see if I can. Yeah. So Peanut's sleeping in the window. I made a user for her on my desktop and I say, hey, I didn't want to give her access to Visual Studio Code. She'll destroy my computer if I do that, right? And so that's how I would consider that like a local install. So not temporary, but yeah, small. Okay, exactly. Gray Sheep, thank you. Small space environment on your machine. You can uninstall entirely or in like little pieces or whatever, etc. All right. I've yapped enough. Let's actually get started. That's what you came for. So I have already set up an environment, but we'll get into what if I hadn't. So I don't have to do this, but you can install globally virtual env. So as long as you have a Python version, you technically will have pip, but if you're unsure, we can always go Python version, check that we have. We can go and get the version of pip. It's going to tell me, hey, you have like 24. Great, fantastic. I have a pip that I can do things with. I can go ahead and type pip install virtual environment, and it'll go ahead and install that. I, again, have already installed this. So this I'm installing globally because I want to use it in projects. You'll find it colloquially referred to as venv, your choice. I did run into an issue where it couldn't find the command. And so the way to do that is, like, let's say I wanted to create so I actually do have a, what's it called? I have the script. Let me do things, please. I have an unmarked keyboard and I get messed with all the time. Yes, thank you, great. Cannot find this. Oh, that's right, because I did this in a different folder. We're gonna have to do it anyway. Alrighty, let's go make an environment. All right, so python-n virtual env, and then whatever I'm gonna name the environment. So people use different things, but the most common one is just venv because it's just local to that like folder. So right now, there's nothing in my folder structure. There's just run.py because I made an empty file. Interesting. That is a bug. My text disappeared. Will it come back? It will not. That is a bug. I told you we would find bugs. I didn't realize it would be not things we wanted. Alrighty. We're not using a very specific Python version. Yes, great. Select it for that. Okay. Did you do the thing? I can't read this. It's so big. I don't know what to look for. I think it has. I think I have to. Let's double check. All right. So we have venv. We have a script. We have all these scripts. Excellent. Thank you. I didn't know that. Now I know. I don't have to type it out all the time. But yeah. So right now it's not telling me that this is open, which kind of sucks. Alrighty, let's also split this because I prefer having a terminal. Yes, it is activated, but is it? It doesn't seem like it. Give me my terminal. Thank you. And then while we're at it, can we split this? Ah, yes. Let's delete that, split this, make this. I want to get, I just want Linux. Just give me Linux. Why am I being so, I was doing this so fine the other day and now my brain is like, no. Whatever. We'll slip around. All right. Can I do activate? Nope. It's not gonna work. Great. That's fine. This is why we tried at least. Let me work. All right. Chat saying kill terminal. Hey! Thank you. Great sheep. You should just do this for me. You know so much. I love it. All right. That's cool. Good to know that's all done. We're going to keep command line open anyway because I prefer to have both. But most of the time we're going to use git bash because I am so much more familiar with Linux than I am with Windows. Anyway, so we have an environment up. It is demonstrated right here. We gave it that name, venv, and whatnot. It's used now. Cool. So let's say we're done with the project, by the way, and we want to exit the virtual environment. We want to switch to another project, do other things. We would just type in deactivate, lowercase d, and it will deactivate the environment. And when you're ready to start back up again in Windows, you saw those folders. Now we have all these scripts and stuff inside venv. So we go to scripts and we go activate.bat. If you are in Windows, I believe the folder structure is relatively the same in Windows or in Mac, but same. You just run that script and call it good. Okay, so we have our environment. Let's go ahead and pip install Flask. If I can type, which the answer is no. Okay, well that's installing. If you ever want resources, there are documentations you can read for both Python using venv and as well as the library itself. It's telling me I need to upgrade pip. We don't need to. So let's say I had no idea what I was doing with Flask and I want to use Copilot for this, where I'm like, what do I do? What do I need to do these things? So we're going to hit Control I if you're on Windows, Command I if you're on Mac. And we're going to say, write a basic run.py file for a basic Flask app. see what it gives us. Let's go ahead and shrink that down. Okay, so it's given us from Flask import the app name, some routes, and then of course the main function. But because we're using a run.py, let's go ahead and actually just create a new file. And then we're gonna move all this out, put that there. This is now app.py, and now we have a separated run function. Yay! Which obviously it's a little bit broken, but we're gonna go fix that really quick while I double check chat real fast. Oops, that's the wrong Visual Studio Code window. No, that is. Yeah. We need the import. That's what I forgot. Cool. So now we have our basic Flask app. Should technically be able to run it, but let's see. So that would be, I believe it's Python on Flask or something. I always forget. No, it's just Flask run. Derp. All right, let's see. So it is already running. It gives us the server. Let's go ahead and open that, and it tells us hello world. Let's zoom in. Voila. So we have our hello world. Nice. I have no idea what Fast API is. That's the reality of it. That's why I chose Flask. I guess that's what I'll look up after the stream is done, because I've like heard whispers of Fast API, but I've never actually like used it. Again, my knowledge is outdated, but my concepts are okay. Anything new? All right, so we have our server. We have some basics. Let's say I still didn't know what the heck was going on with Flask. Let's go ahead and right click. I want to, will it tell me? Sometimes it does. No. All right, so give me Copilot again. I want to talk to it where I want to say, I want it to open in chat for me actually. And I don't remember how to get to chat. I think it's actually just Copilot chat. There we go. So I want to say, what are the, oh goodness, I hate this. Let's open that really, really wide. There we go. What are the typical files and folder structures I need for a basic Flask app? So while it thinks it's going to tell us what we need, it's using app.py as our reference, and it gives us a folder structure. I could have Googled this, but maybe I just want like a really condensed, like, what do I put in each file, which Copilot does give us. So it gives us our top level directory. We have our app.py, our run.py, our environments file that we should not push to GitHub, requirements, config, etc. Then we have some templates that we would use because it's ERB based, or like in this case, it's Jinja 2, which is a templating framework. And then we have some static stuff where we might put like our images or CSS files that would be used within the templates themselves, which is exactly what it has explained here. Yay, that means we know things now. But if we didn't know, that's where we would figure out. If I wanted to say get the requirements instead of using what I have, there's a way you can actually get your requirements for a project, where if you type pip freeze, you'll get a list of your requirements. So let's go ahead and type freeze. Oh, voila, we now have our requirements. And so we can actually go make that file now. So let's go ahead and do that, because it would be good. Come on, save requirements.txt. So having these requirements is important generally for when you're doing any kind of project, because you want to be able to like either update things or just know, like, let's say somebody else doesn't have the requirements file and they're working with you on the team and they're like, I don't know what I need to install. Boom, that's how you get different versions, and then that's how you get other issues. So this is some default stuff that just came with me setting up the Flask app, etc. It gives all the dependencies, yay. So we're done with requirements, cool. In config.py, it looks like they're importing OS. They're getting the secret keys. Do we need this? We'll come back to that. But run.py, we already did this. So we didn't even have to do what I did, where I said Copilot do stuff. But we've already done that, so we can skip it. Then it gives us some default templating. So let's go ahead and do that. This is where I use bash because I like to do things. So we're going to make directory, we're going to call it templates, and we're going to touch index.html, we're going to create the file, and then we're going to go ahead and go open that index.html, which should have been in the templates folder, but I forgot to move switch directory. So we're going to move index. That's not what I wanted to happen. And we're going to move that into the templates folder. Yeah. And just to make sure, now index.html is not in here, but it sure as heck is in, let's close that, in templates. Excellent. So for if you're working with someone and you want someone to install your requirements, presuming you have a requirements.txt file, pip install-r requirements.txt. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, got the error cannot import name app from app. Let's go quick check. So the question I have is, 1, did you install Flask? 2, did you do this? App equals Flask name. And then did you also make sure, can you see that? Yes, you can, that you called them in the run.py. If you are having issues, this is just more of like a quality of life thing. You can keep it all in the same file. app.py can have just this section at the bottom. Like, it's not required. I just prefer to keep some things a little bit obfuscated or separated from each other. So that way, if like, I would say main is not the app.py. Like, if you're familiar with Java, like you have your run function and there can only be one. So if I have my run.py, I have my main function. I don't have to worry about it anywhere else or popping up somewhere weird. And that's kind of the reason why I did it. But app.py still kind of does the same things where everything that is related to the app is included in that file. So you can try merging it into the one file where you don't have to import any app and see if that fixes it, where that would just look like this, by the way. So that way you see it. It would look something like this. Not required, of course. It's possible it could be. It does happen. Usually when I run into weird things like that, where I'm like, just restart. Oh, fantastic. So if it works, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's something you can Google or have Copilot explain to you later in case it might fix for you or not. The fixes aren't always accurate. All right, so let's go back to chat with ChatGPT, which is right here. So we have our templates, and it's pretty much given us that. Let's go double check that we have this file structure though. So listing it, we have app.py, run.py. We don't have an environment file, so we're gonna go ahead and touch the .env file. We're not using config, and then we have the templates folder right here. We don't have a static folder, so we're gonna make a static folder. And we're gonna move into static, and we're gonna touch, oh no, those are more folders. Connector, CSS, JS, and images. And we're gonna list that, and voila, we have our folders. Do we have anything in them yet? No. Are we gonna fill them? Maybe. But now we have a basic structure which matches what they suggested, which is that we have our static folders with our other folders. We have our template, the environment, which that's separate from Copilot, our .env, which has nothing in it yet, but that's where we would put our OpenAI key. So let's go ahead and add that in as well, and we'll leave it blank for now. I don't know why you're giving me an autocomplete, but that's dangerous. I don't know what that was. Copilot Plus. But yeah, so we have our basic app so far. I will be pushing this to GitHub at the end of every workshop, so you're welcome to pick up from there. You'll be able to install the requirements because we have the requirements.txt, etc. I'll show you more about doing the GitHub setup at the end of the stream, but we'll have to add in a git ignore and make sure that we don't push our secret keys to the internet, because that would be terrifying. Yeah. So let's go ahead and come back to our checklist. Let's go and do that. Okay, we've done our pip install with the virtual environment. We've talked about deactivating, yada, yada, yada. Cool, so done. Setup environment, done. We've talked to Copilot about making a basic Flask app, and what else do we need, and running Flask. And if we went to run Flask, oh, not bad. Run Flask. Let's go to our link. And it hasn't changed anything because we're not rendering it. So let's go ahead and replace hello. Why do you keep cabbing out the way I don't want you to? Shame. Okay. No, that's not what I want. Render template. Oh my goodness, I don't want that. And we want index.html. I know this is super small, but this is just to show what we need. And then why are you yelling at me? It's because you haven't found it. So from that, import, let's go ahead and maximize that really quick. So I've switched from hello world, which was originally just being printed out, to use render template index.html, so we can actually get access to that index page right here, which should also say hello world, but we'll also have more like HTML really to it than just a print statement. So we're gonna go ahead and save that. I'm gonna close those. And then let's go ahead and cancel that server, run it again. There's a way you can probably have this be sustained like node servers where they automatically update as you make changes, but Python, I don't remember the exact library, and I don't mind restarting the server because it's a good habit to kill your servers, to be honest, and not leave them running forever. Yes, internal server error. Yay. Why do you hate me? Is it because no, I canceled, I killed my servers. So what's going on? We were fine. Did not return. Oh, it's because I forgot return. Excellent job, Cecilia. Yay me. Let's restart that server. And try again. There we go. Great. Shame on me. I can't believe I forgot to return. I got so excited about rendering that I forgot. Whoops. All right, let's go back to our checklist. Cool. So we've made a .env file, but we haven't actually figured out how to use that .env file. And it's good practice to have Python's .env library. At least I prefer it. It's very similar to if you're working with Node.js, etc. It's just a nice library to have. I personally prefer it. If there's a better thing out there, suggest it, because maybe somebody prefers to work with something else. But once again, we want to make sure that we are in the environment that we set up and that we're going to install locally. I'm going to sneeze. We're going to install python.env. And while that goes off and does its thing, we can go ahead and check it off. And then, yes, we know that Python is out of date. I don't care because it's such a minor upgrade. But cool, successfully installed. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and pip install OpenAI because we're going to need that later. So it's doing lots of things. Go ahead and check those off. Making fast progress today, only 30 minutes in, yay. And we're gonna also do pip freeze just to double check where we're at because we've added some new things. As you can see, there's quite a few more libraries now. So let's go ahead and add those. Yep, there it is. Right, I was sneezing. And go back to requirements, paste, save, does that. Cool. Will it be on YouTube? This should be streaming on YouTube. Yes, it is currently streaming on YouTube. It'll be there after, so long as I don't do something silly and have too much information on screen, which we shouldn't technically run into, knock on wood. But yeah. All right, so we talked about a few ideas. Chat, if you have ideas for like possible projects we could do in the next 2 streams, definitely let me know so that way I can add these in, and that's something that we could potentially tackle next stream. Like I said, for today, we're just doing a lot of setup, making sure things are connected so that way it's easy to make our project instead of sitting there like, oh, we can flesh out the whole project when our base functionality is, does ChatGPT answer the question? So that would be answering our general QA, not necessarily a chat bot, not necessarily pretty or anything. But yeah, I'm happy to field any project ideas so we can add these in. I really like taking project ideas from chat because I get to involve you. You are all virtually attending and whatnot, but I want to try new ideas that aren't mine because I'm like, I know how to do my ideas, but there could be new things that we could do. And it also shows you like very much live, like how do you do the thing when you don't know how to do the thing? Anyway, so let's go ahead and start with the integrating part. We've done the Flask setup. Now we do the ChatGPT. Let's go make sure I'm logged into OpenAI. So if you go to platform.openai.com, it will briefly pull this up. Oh, reopen the run.py. Here's run.py. All All right. So, I already have an account with OpenAI where I already have the using ChatGPT really. And so, if you go to platform.openapi.com, you can sign in with that same account, and you will get access to the API. So, this is one of the things that it shows up. It's a personal account, default project, all that kind of stuff. But there's different things you could do with your API. There's the general chat, which is like chat completions, etc. Then you have assistants, which could be more like chatbots, text to speech, and then completions I think is more about what we're working on. But we can test things or create functions or all sorts of things. We're really not playing with this because I want to challenge you to figure this out, on your own for a future hackathon project or whatever. Because the API itself is basic networking, with the intent of working with the nuances of ChatGPT being saving chat history, so that way you have context of what chat is going on, so that way it draws from those the preceded prompt, etc. But if we go to docs, it tells us a lot of information of just quickly setting it up in Python, where you can learn more about the models involved and all the different things you can build, which docs these days tend to have a lot of tutorials. They didn't always, they definitely were a little lacking, and it's very much if you knew, you knew. Whereas nowadays there's so many tutorials of here's some examples, here's all these things, which makes life a lot easier. The important thing to note though is ChatGPT costs money, but it's minuscule amounts of money if you're using USD. Because they're prices per 1 million tokens being characters or groups of characters, right? So I said, I dropped $10 in, and while I was doing my own prototyping to prepare for this project, I think I only used a cent. And by that I mean I probably used a minuscule hundredth, thousandths, whoever's of a cent that made it less than 10. And that's why it says $9.99 on my account right now. You can't see that because I'm not playing that, but yeah. So getting started, if we really wanted to, on app.py, excuse me, we would just import the OpenAI, write a client, yada yada. So let's go ahead and click the developer quick start. Skip the quick start and dive into the API reference. Yes. Cool. So we already did the pip install. I already have a project key generated. I will show you how to pull that up actually really quick. Let me find it first though. Project. I wanted to look at. Gosh, I'm tired. I am looking for my key. New project API. How am I supposed to get here from that? Oh, it's in the dashboard. Okay. Okay. So, if you go to dashboard in that top area where it said docs and API and stuff, dashboard will show you what you've done. And so I jumped all the way down to API keys, where I made a key for this week for Global Hack Week. But you'll notice that I made a restricted access API, right? A restricted access key. And what that means is that I don't want it to have access to everything, editing, reading, writing, everything. That's kind of dangerous, because what if I derp and I push the key to GitHub, and therefore the internet now has my key? If I don't catch that and delete it in time, people could take advantage of that in a malicious way, which I really don't want. So, but what if I also know I'm doing bare minimum operations? I don't want to accidentally, in any way, shape, or form, have someone access something else that might cost more, which when you're using for paid APIs, that's a risk. So it's always a good habit to make a restricted API key, which is what I've done. And I said everything has none permissions, no read write, with the exception of the models, which I need to access the models themselves, and what I want to do with the model, which I need to be able to write to that model. And so that's what this is doing. So I already tested this, where originally I just had it that the models was read only and everything else was none, not realizing that in order to use the chat completions that I was working with, because I didn't put two and two together at the time, I also needed to be able to write to it. So this is get post requests basically. But yeah, so I have made a restricted secret key that I have saved elsewhere, and that allows me to use chat completions in this instance. If I wanted to change it, I could, based on needs. The way I found out that I needed it was because the error when I was making the API call was hey, you don't have permissions for chat completions. You should go do that. And I was like, what do you mean? I gave permissions to access the model. And it's like, but I only gave read permissions to the model, not write permissions to what the model can do. So when debugging, important that you read the error messages. We'll be doing a lot of that. Or, you can ask Copilot or whatever. I did some Googling just to be like, what are the minimum requirements that I need? Nobody really had a clear answer. Sucks. But it is what it is. I tried to figure out what I could. But yeah, so let me go back. So I have this key. I think the way that OpenAI is you can only copy the key once and then it's hidden from view forever, which great, but sucks if you lose that copy. In which case you just have to regenerate one, and you can always regenerate that. So let me go ahead and do that really quick because I do have that key. I just want to copy this, and then I'm going to go. Let's open give that and navigate there. I'm going to do it not from Visual Studio Code, so that way I don't leak my key if it will show up. Come on, show me my terminal. Why are you not? Okay, all right, fine. We're gonna do it this way then. That's fine. One moment while I do Linux magic on the back end, because for whatever reason things aren't working. Come on. There we go. Why do you keep bugging out? Weird. Check T4X. VI drop in. Yeah. And I want to insert that. And I'm gonna words. I don't need that. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and save that. Cool. So the environment file does now, in fact, have a secret key, but we are not going to see that because I don't want to have you all use that just yet. Or at all, to be honest. That's $10. I can do a lot with $10 on OpenAI. But the important thing is that it is uploaded now, so now we can go ahead and access it. As for how to access it, I'm going to go pull it up because I'm clicking on the stream video and not my actual Visual Studio. I'm having time. Alrighty. So this one I'm kind of cheating on because I never remember. But I want to load the OpenAI key, and let me go pull up docs again so we have that reference for that developer quick start. Okay, so in the developer quick start, I wanted. Here we go. So if I were to set up a model, it's telling me that I should import OpenAI, which I have not done yet. So from OpenAI, why do you keep, don't do that. I don't need that. OpenAI, why do you keep, weird. Why are you not tabbing for me? Is it because the window's too big? I think I may have messed up the setting somehow. Or maybe, I'm curious. Why are you, all right, let's go Google that. Nancy, tab, move focus. How do I disable that? Control M. There we go. I have my tab back. Thank God. I had no idea. More you know. Alrighty. And then I also need to, there we go, from .env import. I also do need import OS. Thank you, Copilot. What would I do without you? All right. So what am I doing in this file now? I've added a number of things without explaining it, but let me go ahead and come back. So we already had this. That hasn't changed. What we did ask or add was we added OpenAI. We added .env, where we're saying from the library, from the OpenAI library, open up a specific class or a specific function that we want to use. And so that's what's going on with this .env import. We are loading the load.env function, which will go and retrieve our environment keys from within a local folder, which if you gave it a path, then you could go and find it from a specific path if it wasn't in the same top level folder, which it is. We have .env and app.py in the same folder structure, so we don't need to add anything. It will find the file for us. Yay. Once it loads that into memory, we need to actually set up the client of OpenAI with the OpenAI key, which, what is it telling us? This is the default and can be admitted. So if, let's say, we had multiple keys or other things going on, or we wanted to set up multiple clients for whatever reason, then we could specify other specific keys. And I think on my environment file, I think I labeled it OpenAI key as well. So I could actually just leave this out. But for the sake of being clear and in case there's anything else that changes, I just kind of want to make sure, like extra sure that I've done this right. So now we have things set up to use ChatGPT, but we're not actually doing that yet. So let's go ahead and come back around. Again, we are working on connecting things. So I think at this point, we actually don't have to check the checklist so much as getting things done. Agreed. Always set up your git ignore file early. I am just not pushing to GitHub until the end of the workshop. I wanted to keep on task about like getting things set up before we do the Git stuff, just because not everybody's familiar with GitHub, but excellent point. I definitely agree. Let me go ahead and do that for myself. Okay, so now how do we use ChatGPT? We come back to the Flask concept where we have these routes. And these routes are saying, render things for us, or it might even be a function or a GET request or otherwise. And so jumping to what we want to do is we're going to probably want to have a web page that has the text field so that way we can actually talk to ChatGPT. We probably want to render the answers. And if we were really shooting for the moon, trying to land among the stars, we might want to render it specifically and say, like, this message comes from the bot, or this message comes from the user, and separate those and render them differently. For right now, we just want to render the conversation that's going on. No gimmicks, no fanciness, no CSS, or nothing. Just show me what you got. Give me a single answer kind of thing. So let's go ahead and adapt this route then. So we have the hello route, and let's also go ahead and open this up because we need that. I don't think we're going to need run.py anymore. I'm not opening anything else. Okay, so let's put this inside. Okay, so currently we have our HTML, which just gives us the title that it's a Flask app. We're going to change that ChatGPT for X because that's what this is overall going to be. And we have a body that says hello world. Now, this HTML template is going to actually use Jinja 2 in like the back end. I'm not going to explain this very well because I think you should Google it. And also I don't know the explanation off the bat right now. But the gist is that we could pass in content for it to render for us, even if we don't necessarily know what the exact content's going to be. So let's go ahead and we're going to delete that. Well, actually, let's keep that, but we're not going to have it say hello world. We're going to say ask me anything because this is a chatbot. And what that means is that we're going to need a form. And in that form, we want a text field. And so right now, Copilot is already giving me examples where it's giving us the placeholder, it's giving us the input type and a submit button. And so with this form, we're saying, hey, when it does things, we want you to do something as a reaction to the event, right? And so if we decide that we want to, let's make sure I'm doing this right. Yes, good. You can see that I've given it, or at least Copilot has actually given it both a name, an ID, some placeholder information. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Where are we doing? No, we're not. Cool. I did see that we put in a way to debug, which is great. I'm lazy and I don't feel like fixing it right now. But if we were to refresh, now we have a form that says ask me anything. So right off the bat, this doesn't do anything. We can just type in things and it's not going to do anything. But you do see that it's looking for this path, right? It's saying get question mark, and then it says question, and then it's passing in what we've given it. So that we've started to think about the inkling of like, well, we have a GET request going on whenever we hit submit. Cool. Shouldn't we make something that matches what it's looking for? So we're going to actually replace hello with question. And more so for like just being clear about what we're using it for. This is our home route. We are using the index, but we're getting there. Hang tight. So we also want to consider, well, at some point the chatbot's going to give us an answer, right? And so as you can see, Copilot's suggesting that I have a div that is the answer. Fantastic, great. We're not going to do a div right now because we'll do that later when we clean this up, make it prettier, all sorts of things. We just want this to come like right after. So maybe we do keep that, and we have a paragraph that says answer rule. Yeah, so Copilot's giving us some nice things. How kind of it. But we'll leave that. I expect that that's going to give me a bug. We're going to now work with Jinja. And so it's already giving me a preview. I'm looking for if there's an answer, which is giving me that condition block where it's inserting things for me. Yay! I love not having to think about some basics. But what this is saying is in Jinja 2, if there's an existing answer object that's passed into this template, then render it and then close the block. If there is no answer, then this block will never be executed, in which case it'll just say like answer will appear here. So what we could do is instead do, if there's an answer, do that. And then I want to do, yes, give me the percentage. And then I don't want end if, I want else, do the thing here. So now, let's see if this is rendering correctly. Go ahead and run that. And we render that. Okay, so we have answer will appear here because currently we're not passing anything in. You mean resources and documentation? Or as in, like, there is something I am missing in how I am doing Jinja things? Because if it's documentation, Jinja 2. Documentation. Yes. This is not pretty, but documentation. Okay, yeah. So documentation. So I have some fast experience with Jinja. If you are familiar with other placeholder templates, I think they're for the most part quite similar. They just use different tags to indicate where you are breaking and putting template information in. But as you can see, there's basics. So let's go ahead and go to basics. This is not the nicest thing to read. We don't have to do this. Flask already wraps things in for us. But what we really want is, let's see. This is more about the documentation. Great. We're doing very basic stuff right now. I want to find how you might have worked with it otherwise. Let's go back to, is that what I'm looking for? No. Context. Oh, these are functions. I want examples. Here we go. Does it give me anything else? No. Okay, but environment renders template strings. This is not a good example. These are not good examples. HTML escaping. There we go. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So HTML escaping, there's different ways you can do for loops. You get most of your basic coding functionality. You get for loops, you get conditionals, you get variables. You can use dictionaries, all sorts of things. There are a number of things you can do as long as you escape the template, which in, I think if you're familiar with JavaScript, React, etc., it's just a single bracket for most everything. Whereas in Jinja, if you are just inserting a single variable, it's double brackets, curly braces. But if you are doing a specific programming function, again, conditionals, for loops, etc., you'll need a curly bracket and percent. Those will again exit things, which is what's going on here. So we have our conditional, we have the percent curly bracket, we have our variable that's being inserted. Notice that we have no idea where this variable is coming from yet. But if that doesn't exist, then it'll just give us some other text instead. So coming back to our server here, let's go set up the route. And so how the route's going to look is that we know that we're calling a GET request. And so the way that you tend to do that in Flask is that you're going to have methods. And as you can see, again, Copilot is helping me out here. These are fairly standard things that it's not really going to get wrong as long as you know what it is that you want to add, which is why I've been tabbing so much, because I'm like, yes, I want that thing. So right now we're doing a GET. or it's going to get an answer for us. But is that really what's going on here? Yes, it's getting the question, but what about when it's calling ChatGPT? What about if like there's more information or something? So let's actually switch this to a post. We'll come back and see if we need get. I'm purposely doing this because I want to see if I can break it. You can use whatever API key you want. It just means that some things will slightly change. As far as the functionality in Python and using Flask, I don't think much is going to change except for like the libraries that you use and how you initialize the client and how you access it, which there's going to be differences in the libraries themselves. But if you wanted to use a different AI model or a different generative AI, then go for it. You're going to get different results. That might be a project where you compare it, where you say like, we've used the same prompts, the same this, the same that, different keys, and here's how they compare. And that could be a very interesting like data science-y project where you're examining the comparison. Right. So coming back to this, if it will let me click things, we're going to check if the request method is, and you can again see Copilot's filling things in. We're checking if it's post, because it may not be anything. It may just be rendering, in which case it's not really a post, is it? And if it is going to post, so when someone hits submit, then we want to go ahead and get that ID, that value from that. So you can see that the request is retrieving the form that we've created over here, and it's using the tag question, which is the ID that we created over here. So this is a very, very oversimplification of getting things. I'm sure there's better ways to access like the entirety of a form than just doing this. Like if you have a really long form, you have to manually say request.form question, request.form answer, request.form, all the other different IDs. Is there a better way? Probably. For the scope of this project, and again, hacker hat, if we're doing like bare minimum things, this is fine. But if I were to improve this later for scalability, I might find a different way to go ahead and like figure out how I can actually get form responses without doing all this. It might be that this is the best way. It depends. But you can see that it already went and asked the client. So it asked that API client for OpenAI, but there's a little more than just .ask that needs to happen here. Because we want to also make sure that ChatGPT knows, hey, you're going to answer random questions. You should give things in a specific format, either to reduce our token count and save some money, or we wanted to answer from a specific perspective, all sorts of things. So we have a basic thing. We also don't need to return response here. This is not it. So let's go ahead and fix what Copilot gave us. We have that this is answer, and now we can go back to the render template and we can say, hey, remember that field we gave ourselves over here where we said if answer exists, and this is where answer will exist. If answer has been filled, then go ahead and plug it in. If not, then don't worry about it. It will know not to render the answer because it doesn't exist. And so it is yelling at us. We are missing something, and I believe that's an import for Flask request. Yeah. If I can spell, which I can't. I have been writing too much. Okay, so let's see. So we have this part here. For now, let's comment this out, and we're going to replace this with question just to see if it will render the text that we put in the form. Just to test, like, hey, we don't need to bug OpenAI just yet. We just want to make sure that if and when we do get the answer from ChatGPT, it will at least render whatever it is, because then we reduce the amount of debugging we have to do by just checking along the way. Hey, does this bare minimum thing work? Great. Now we can plug in and say, we know that last time things worked. If ChatGPT is not rendering when we finally integrate ChatGPT, then we can kind of be like, hey, I think we did something wrong with ChatGPT, not with the form. So different methods of debugging as well. But let's go ahead and check. Go ahead and refresh. Method is not allowed for the requested URL. Gosh, what could possibly have happened? Maybe because we did things. Let's go back because you can see in the URL. Let's do test, and it might yell at us again. Okay, so it's giving us a 405. I think this is why I broke it on purpose. I wanted to see what would happen. Let's see if that'll fix it. And then we'll go Google why, because I don't actually know why. Go back, ask. Okay, now it is different. Cannot access local variable question where it is not associated with a value. Is it because I did not do scope correctly? It is entirely possible I did not do scope correctly. Oh, you know what? I didn't do the return correctly. That's exactly what it is. We did need a return, but not what ChatGPT was doing, where we want to do this. And now, that's what I forgot. That's a scoping issue. Okay. So, let me put it back so I can show you what I did. So originally, and it's not this get. The get is not important. Okay. So originally we had answer equals question. And I did a silly programming mistake where I forgot question doesn't exist outside this if statement. Like, it just doesn't. And I also, like, if it doesn't exist, that means that it's going to be a very broken null value, because the memory isn't even allocated. So it's going to break on that, which is part of what was going on. The other thing is, if it is a post request, then I do want it to call chat, and I want it to render something different, which is why I moved this return with the adjustment inside the scope of this if statement, because otherwise I want it to render where answer does not exist, in which case the answer will appear here, because there's nothing that needs to be added for that. In order for that condition to work, we shouldn't be adding in a field to it. So let's go ahead and redo. Oops. That's fine. It'd be like that. Let's go ahead. Return, do that, delete that, and then I want to again test it with the get request, because I think it's not gonna. I'm gonna do it on purpose. Okay, we're testing, method not allowed. Go back and do get, because I think that's what I need. I think it is a get. I just was mistaken. I think it's the post request that I need to do the ChatGPT. So we're gonna test it again and investigate why it doesn't work. Okay. Test 2. Ask. Okay, so it's not rendering it yet. I don't like this. Why are you not answering? What did I goof on? What am I missing? We have this, we have that, we are an index. And what I am doing is if answer exists. You know what? Didn't actually like render it. That shouldn't make a difference. Oops. But let's make sure. Okay. Test. Still not rendering it. Did I? We have ID of question. Okay. If answer. And we passed in this. Did I? Is it because it's in a div? Get rid of the div for giggles. Oh, did I miss something else? I don't have a base HTML. I didn't intend to do that. Nothing like bugs. That happens. It's because I didn't do the get. No, I did both. Okay. And then I did, if it's a post request, return the rendering with the template. And then I have a message, which is going to be answer, which we've set to question. Did I spell it right? And yeah, no, I spelled it right. Otherwise, because I didn't do an else, that shouldn't matter, because that's just lazy coding on my part, but fine. Did I forget a body? No, body's in there. Well, things were rendering, so. What did I do wrong? Put this in paragraph form. And then I said answer will appear. Which that one's rendering, so this if statement technically works, but it's not getting answer correct. Oh, is there something wrong with my route? And then. I actually have no idea. And I don't know that Copilot can fix it. I guess I should try asking. Fix. Why isn't index.html rendering answer from the form using the question route? Let's see if it tells me anything. The issue is that the answer variable and the render template function is set to the value of question instead of the. Yes, that's fine. That's not actually the answer. That's not it. Answer is equal to question, which question is determined here. You know what? Let's name this text. Maybe there's some confusion going on, just for the sake of the function. What? I don't get it. That's okay. What could possibly be going on? I don't know. Do I need to import something that I've forgotten about? No, I shouldn't have to. I'm cheating and reading my project that I put together to reference when I got stuck, and I'm not sure what's going on. If message, else, and if. Do we need a block? I don't think so. No, because blocks would be if they were importing. You are correct. Let's go and inspect the site. Ooh, that's a lot of requests. Okay. You know what? Is there something I didn't import? No, I haven't used that. Request. Did I have Flask and this is why we're debugging this. It has to be something silly because this works otherwise. At least on my other stuff. All right, let me go through what I've done in my other one. The only thing I have is that one that's different. That's fine. That's different. Did I forget a? Okay, we have get post. Diff question or request out method. get the maybe that's why. Maybe it's supposed to be this. I wonder if that makes a difference. Let's see. It doesn't. What? All right. Nothing like weird bugs that I probably created. Okay. Oh. I deleted things I shouldn't have. That's probably why. Still not. Let's go back to the beginning and just for... What? What have I... Text, which is answer. We're rendering the index. And we're saying if answer exists, render it. Not returning the answer. I am returning. Answer equals text. Let's humor myself and put in a text file. That shouldn't change anything. It's not passing it at all, which is odd to me because it should. What? I have an if statement and two returns that are the same. These are not the same. One has a variable. This is necessary then. Perhaps. Watch that fix it. Gonna be a little upset. Oh, that's a silly mistake. Oh. Let's refresh for giggles. Just make sure. Okay. Test. Nothing. Have an if state. Okay. Well, if else. This should not be. You know this part works. If this one doesn't work. Oh. This does not work. Why not? Ask it an actual question now. Oh no, I did. It didn't. It's not connected to anything. And it's not printing anything either. Like it's not. Well, yeah, but it wasn't even rendering this when I sent that in. Let's do, because it should just pass the message along. Oh, and this should be text for now. Save that. Oops. Let's try. Oh my goodness. Let's try returning this instead. No. Yes. I want to see if that, because I get the feeling it's not actually running the post request that I want. I think it is time for a brain break. In that I will experiment it off stream to see what happened. But also a good break for me to refill my water bottle because, yeah, it's time for a break. Let's do a 10-minute break. So that way I can get water and think more about what the heck's going on here. I don't know what I've missed. But yeah, 10-minute break. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Reset bound, and I'm gonna move this over here while I figure that out. All right, I haven't figured it out. I don't know what's up. Let me pull this back and we'll take a look at it together. Because I have a working copy of this project. I don't know what's different, aside from some things I haven't included. But let's go ahead and pull that up too. My cheat sheet. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay. So things are for the most part the same. We have last thing is I haven't used this library. It's not really necessary. We have the same imports. Yes, we have the same imports. We are loading OpenAI but not using it. And we have this. The only difference is that app name. Actually, no, there's no difference. We have app name. And then we skip over this because this is setting up ChatGPT. Or ChatGPT. Okay. But then we get to defining the app routes. I copied this over where I was like, okay, let's use /index. Make the function name the same. We have methods get and post. Let's close this out so we can actually read this. And so we have if request method is post, request.method. And then we have, the difference is just like, we're using question and we're getting the question from the form's ID. This is request.form.get message instead, but it's still using rendering index. There is also the else statement where this is rendering nothing extra, whereas this one is rendering not only a message, but also the function that we're using later. But for us, we're really only looking at answer.question. Shouldn't have changed that. And then as far as index, some differences in the index is that there's a base HTML like template that I'm using where I have like block headers. So this is like injected into my base HTML, which has all the other stuff. So we have titles and reference links for some of the stuff we were going to get to, but this main section is what's being rendered here in this body, all the forms and whatnot. And so coming back, so we have the form, or let's go ahead and do this, and let's take a look at form. Form, come on, scroll. Oh, that's as far as it goes, that's why. Lol. All right, so form, there's a header. We don't need that though. I copied this over again just to see if there was anything that maybe I goofed on, because it was working fine originally, where we have, instead of question, it would be message in the working copy. We have an input of type text. We have the ID matching both the name and the for, or question, question, question. And then we have a button of type submit that we're replacing with send versus ask. So far, nothing terribly different except for the base HTML and putting that in and whatnot. Then there is if answer, or message in this case. If it exists, then render the stuff that's being passed in. Otherwise, say no answers yet, and then end the if. The difference here, of course, being that this has an end block, because again, this is being injected here. So this is more that this is a slightly separate thing. But for giggles, I'm just going to copy the whole thing. And then replace message with question. And you know what? We'll keep it as question for right now, because that shouldn't change it. The other thing I need to do is copy the base. I'm gonna make base HTML. Oops, daisy. Oops, I didn't copy. I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna call that base. And now that's exactly the same. The only difference being that we have question. And I did implement the debug URL. I can spell test, which I apparently can't. But the thing is, it hasn't changed anything. So I'm like, what? just for giggles, in case it's not actually resetting. Oh, that's different. Could not build URL endpoint for... Oh, that's because I'm... Where is this? Where are you getting... Oh, I know why. It's breaking on this part here. We don't need this for right now. It's not doing a very good job of reloading. Good to know. Okay, so even when I do that, it's still not working. Cries! What the heck am I doing wrong? Is it I don't think... Well, I just copied these over. The only things I've... Oh, well, it's also looking for this, which we don't have. We've named it question. This is the cheat sheet. Alrighty. Let's just open this in a new local. Nothing. That's so weird because it's working on my other project. I did, but I'm not using OpenAI. You know what? Let's go comment it out. I don't think it's interfering, but you know what? Maybe it is. Let's comment you out. I don't think that's the case, but you know, you never know. Anything can happen. Let's go and see if... I'm just doing this to clear cache in the case that maybe it's that. That's why it's super... Nothing. Like it's getting... Am I spelling question wrong? I've been staring at it so long. I'm like, did I do it right? It's index.html. Question is being rendered is, you know what? If it just has something in it, we're gonna just make it run. And we're gonna do index. What? Okay, you know what? Maybe it's just a bugged project. And now I want to sanity test and see if this actually works anymore. It's because I have multiple environments up? Who knows? Let's see. Let's see if you're broken. Why is my stuff not working? Oh, that's interesting. You know what? Let's deactivate you. Let's go back to my cheat sheet. Because I'm like, did I change things and I didn't realize it? Nope, that's fine. Let's also go undo things. Okay, these all work. What happened between yesterday and today? It's thinking. Okay, well that works. What happened here? Oh, my homepage just isn't working. Interesting. Well, my cheat sheet works partially, but something went wrong in this one. Let's go fix that really quick. Index travel, get post, Post. Message, location. Oh, this is message. Huh. Why do you work for one but not the other? It's the same stuff. How the heck? It's literally the same. Interesting, though. Why do you not work, but you do? I have so many questions now. And none of them are being answered. Why is it just not working for that? What's changed? Now I'm curious if it works for other things. I also have misspelled questions on this, but what? Why doesn't this one work? Okay. Something has to be interfering with this one function. Y'all, it is the exact same. I don't even know what. That is pretty funny. That is a pretty good joke. Yeah, I would agree. There's something wrong with index HTML. So let's go see what the comparison between the two is. Okay, we don't need the header is a don't care. This one has a maybe I forgot an action and a method. I'm sitting here like, I really thought forms needed like you to tell you where it went, but when I was looking at my cheat sheet, I was like, no, apparently it doesn't. I should listen to myself. Let's go and copy this. Paste that. No, we don't need that. We want this. Change this to index. And you know what? I bet this is gonna freaking fix it. So I knew it and I didn't trust myself. I'm very happy, but I'm also so upset because I knew it and I didn't even. Shame on me. Okay, let's go fix the other one. Let's go fix this. Garbage. It's not garbage. It's fine. It's just. Gah. Well, that fixes that probably. Let's go try this one. Let's go activate this. I need a dot slash. If I can find the slash button. Because now I'm like playing against time and I'm super nervous because I want this to work. And of course that doesn't work. Of course you can't. I think it's. Is it not? I'm in this one. Oh, it's because it's supposed to be under VN. Duh, that's important. I should have had that. There we go. Okay. Oh, I'm so. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hang on. Let's go chuck you over here. Cancel your server. Okay. Now we don't have things on the wrong server. This is why you have multiple ports. Let's go open this up and let's go back here. And we're gonna refresh that. And now this is gonna work. Okay. I'm so salty now. I knew it, and I was like, "No, my cheat sheet doesn't." Okay. Now that we have proven, we can miss even the simplest of things, and I have spent the last 45 minutes on that. Your form should always have some form of action. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's just going to submit. All right, well, let's go put this on GitHub. Let's go put this on GitHub. Let's go find Git ignore while we're at it. All right, the reason I delayed on GitHub, I wanted to show the Git ignore volume that exists online, which is that GitHub. Yes, that is my cat Peanut. She is spending her best days. It's really funny because I'm pretty sure I looked psychotic for like the last 10 minutes, especially screaming. Peanut doesn't care. Peanut is a honey badger. I do always get it done with brute force. No, I'm sorry. All right. So Git ignore. There are many Git ignores for all the different things you could possibly code, and even things you probably won't code. As you can see, I'm still scrolling. It is very long. We're looking for Python, if I can search in the correct window. Okay, so here's Python. Let's see if Flask is in here. So we have building, development, distributions, eggs, wheels, all sorts of things. What we are looking for is .env. Here we go. So we have some Flask stuff if we actually ended up using that. And then do we have anything else? If we wanted to use Scrappy or Jupyter Notebooks, these are also pretty good. So this is almost excessive. Also VN. Here we go. Reasons why you should probably use a consistent, what's it called? No, I don't want to bookmark. I want reasons why you should probably use consistent file names. Because generic Git ignores will probably catch most of it. So by using venv or env folder or all caps env or any back files, it's funny, my friends are watching the stream and they're texting me like you did it. Don't let yourself get so beaten up by code. Sorry. But anyway, you want to make sure that you've covered your bases on possible things you don't want to push. But as you can see, there's quite a bit. And while this is overkill, it's not a bad idea to just always have a consistent Git ignore because it will catch most things. And you'll also see some formatting for things you might need to add after the fact. Like you can see there's a lot of variations in just like MyPy or like a folder. Or like, again, various ways that you can name your environments or referring to files. And it also kind of gives you an idea of like, what are the things people are actually using in their Python projects, which might be useful for you if you decide, oh, I don't want to use Flask. I want to use Django or Fast API, as I've heard about today, etc. And so this is actually available to you when you go create a repo. When you can create a default Git ignore, it's pulling from these Git ignores. I use this for almost all of my projects because it's just easier. I don't have to. People have done the work. Work smarter, not harder. Which is also why I cheat sheeted and I was like, what do I need to copy paste to make this work? So we have a Git ignore. We could make the repo, add the Git ignore to the repo, and then go push our stuff because then it's already up there. Or we can copy the file, make the file on our local instance, and then go from there. So there's two ways you can do it. I'm going to do it where I create the repo, set up the README and the Git ignore because I often forget. Then I'm going to set the upstreams and connect everything from the terminal on that side. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to create a new repository. What are we going to name this? ChatGPT for X. For X. I should probably for Y, I guess, so that way people don't think I'm talking about Twitter, formerly known Twitter or whatever. Skeleton for like last season hackathon projects. Okay, we're gonna make this public. We're gonna add a README, and then we're gonna add a gitignore template, which remember we were talking about that Python one. So let's quick pause. Let's look at, you wanted to do React. React is not in there. JavaScript, not in there, because what is it called? Node. I do this all the time. I always forget that it's Node, not any of the others. Yeah. So think more so about like the language or like one of the main frameworks. And if you're never sure about what's actually in the gitignore, just go search like gitignore template, and it's hosted by GitHub, and you can read through and be like, is this actually a good fit? Which we did. We saw that it was Python, and it's useful for us because it has Flask. We have most of the file structure. This is also why I asked Copilot, like, what do we do? So that way, if need be, I could go ahead and just be like, I already have everything I need. It's in the right structure. So the gitignore should technically work for whatever my stuff ends up being. And I can always make edits to that gitignore after the fact. That's never like not allowed. Like you should, if you have changes or if things get moved around, please edit the gitignore. And so as far as licensing goes, there's all sorts of different things that you could do. We're not going to add a license because this is just me bumming around and having fun and screaming at my computer because I forgot a post request, which happens, such as a day in the life of coding. Let's go ahead and create the repository. Cool. So we have a README. It's giving us the description that we had. We'll edit that later. Where I have more spicy comments that I probably shouldn't post on stream about how I want everybody to do different ChatGPT projects. But we can now double check and we can say, okay, like, cool. This has everything we could possibly need that we saw, right? So let's go ahead and go back. And the thing is, so here's the downside. If you created the repo and you did not add these files, you would get some pretty nice instructions about having an empty repo, and here's how to like initialize everything. Now that you've put stuff, you don't have that nice pretty cheat sheet. And this can be a good practice of whether or not you actually know how to use Git, which we're going to test whether or not I know Git, because it's been a minute since I've not used the cheat sheet. It is harder. I would say every so often it's a good challenge. It's not a requirement. It's more so, do you understand what you're doing? And if you don't, you should probably go learn, because it's good to have an idea. So let's make sure we're in the right folder if Bash would cooperate, which it's not going to, clearly. So we're going to go ahead and just give me a new git bash terminal. And we're in the right folder this time. And so we're going to say git init because we want to initialize the repository. And before we add anything, make the commit whatever, because we have a gitignore on the main repository, we actually want to upstream link to our new repository, pull that down so that way we have our gitignore, and then add everything else, because the gitignore will filter what we shouldn't add. I never remember how to do upstreams. So git link upstream new repo. Configuring a remote repository for a fork? No. I just want to link a new Git repository. There's tons and tons of Google things. Technically, what could do is go to the docs, actually, because I know what the words I'm looking for. I'm looking to upstream things. So git docs upstream. Okay. So this is the Git documentation. This is how to read it. Where I'm like, do I care about the version? I should. But as you can see, it's like they don't update very often. And the reality is they're not going to change things that people use day to day, which is, where is it? Upstream. Where I want to set the upstream to a specific branch name. I actually don't want to do that. I want, show me upstreams. I just want to set remote, I think is what it is. Set remote. Git remote, working with remotes. There we go. Oh wait, there was a beginner setting first time Git setup. That's all configurations, identities. Wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. Maybe I can search new repo. Upstream. GitHub repo infrastructure. It's creating an, yeah, okay. Well, as you can see, I don't remember, and that kind of makes me sad. This is also from the CLI, which I guess is the new thing. That's cool, but I don't want to do that. Quick start. Just want to... I don't want to fork. I want to... I'm making this so hard for myself. Never a dull day. That's okay. Am I learning something new? Yes. Am I relearning something old? Yes. That's fine. Remotes. Technically, this is remotes. Get remote. There we go. That's what it's called, remote, not upstream. But the point is, it's doing it upstream. Is there maybe in Google Images, just in case, because I don't want to mess up. I don't want to break things. There we go. Show me this image. Open a new tab. There we go. So this is a little outdated, but this is our backup. We wanted to do git remote add origin. That's what it was. Wow, I think if I stopped to think about it and I wasn't streaming, I probably would have gotten it. That's a lot of faith in myself. Anyway, in case, git add remote origin. Nope, git remote add origin. And we want the link to our repo, which is here. And .git. All right, let's go back to the docs though. Git remote add branch name URL. If we knew how to read documentation, we could have used this. But clearly, I forgot some things in between that I'm like, yeah, but I need to see it in practice. So you can use both, especially to connect your knowledge to learning how to read documentation, which is generally a good idea. Which we're going to go git remote add origin to .git. I'm pretty sure the URL needs to have .git. Yes, it does. So you'll see that right now this doesn't have the .git part. If you were to copy the URL, it will give you that .git, as you can see at the end right here. So you do want to use .git whenever. We'll come back to that. But yeah, so we're doing this where we're doing adding the remote origin, and let's go pull. Git pull. Because we want the git ignore. And what did it do? It's giving us information where it's saying there's a new branch, there's no tracking information, git pull main, I think. Yeah, there we go. And then there we go. So now it's telling us what to do, which is super nice, which is what I wanted. The CLI is actually really useful, whether you're using the official one or just the bash terminal, which I think they're both the same, but things may have changed because I'm out of date. We now have like, just say like, what is the remote, which is the URL, and what is the branch? I want the main branch. But if I want to make this that I never have to do this again, the next thing to do is, because again, we're starting with empty repository, is to follow what it says, which is git branch. And this is what I was talking about, the set upstream stuff, because I'm like, I know I have to do that. 2 equals origin. And then I've made this much harder than it needs to be. I think this should be, let's double check. Git branch. All right, so we just have the main branch. Yay. Let's also go git pull, make sure it's all good. Do we have the git ignore? Yes, we have a git ignore. That means we pulled successfully, and we don't technically have any merge conflicts because there shouldn't have been in the first place. All right, so now we get status and we say, oh my goodness, we have a lot of, okay, actually it's only like 4 files. That's not that bad. So let's go add everything. This is bad practice. Do not say git add dot or git add star. I am only doing this because I do know what's going on, and the git ignore is set up to work for us and not against us because we did the git ignore first. Normally, you would do the individual files, list them out, get specific things in a folder, all that kind of stuff, so you have even more control, and that's where you would name it. I would better recommend that you practice doing that so you have a better understanding of working with Git in a terminal. But I'm being lazy because I'm running out of time, and I've really goofed where I forgot the quotes. And this is not an initial commit, but it is what is it? First route. It doesn't work with ChatGPT because I got stuck. It happens. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But the point is, like, the stuff is there. Also, I want to just get status really quick and make sure we're not pushing the end file. Yeah, we're good. Okay. We're not pushing the wrong things that we shouldn't, like the environments or the .env file. First route. Okay, great. I need to do this really quick because I forgot that it's, for some reason, my computer's acting up and it won't let me set my GitHub information, which is kind of annoying. Let's see. And I have to set it locally, which is really annoying. And now we're going to do the git commit. I know I'm not showing it on screen. I will bring it back once I've cleared this a little bit, so that way it'll do these correctly and I don't goof. I called it first route. First route. Okay. Cool. So I've run the commit. It has added things to the repository. If we were to status, we say, hey, everything's great. Except we have yet to push, so we're going to go ahead and push because we are one commit ahead. Presuming we've done our upstream correctly, everything should go fine. And the best way to go ahead and double check that is to go refresh the page. Where we don't want to go to git ignore, but we want to hit refresh. And voila, we have no environment, no .env, no secret keys. But we do have all the stuff that we worked on today, which is not much because bugs, but such as live streaming and all that jazz. Alrighty. So we have 2 minutes left. Any last minute questions? Let's see. Let me scroll up. Thank you all for sticking with me as I sat there questioning my sanity. That's a normal stream with me. Cool. So somebody already mentioned Git remote out of origin. Thank you. But I also wanted to show, like, people should learn how to use and read docs. I'm not even the best at it either. I am a hypocrite. Somebody else mentioned NDP software Git cheat sheet. Interesting. I had no idea about that. There are many Git cheat sheets out there, including GitHub, which, again, when you make a new repo, will tell you how to do things if you don't add a README and ignore me, or git ignore, which, again, is the downside. Like, you could download it to do it yourself if you wanted the cheat sheet on GitHub, or you can do the roundabout way that I did, which was looking at the documentation and going and searching pretty hard. Then, can you create that Python template in git ignore from terminal? You can. There's a couple different ways in that, like, you can just copy the file or download the file and then just move it in. And you can use that with, like, move functions. You could copy it and then use your preferred, like, terminal text editor. I use VI, where I just paste it in, hit save, call it good. And I'm sure there's probably ways where you can just curl and get the file if you wanted to be that way. There's a lot of ways that you could possibly do it. As for typing it yourself, you can also do that, but do you know it comes with the risk of, like, do you know how to write a git ignore? And so that's where I'd recommend going to documentation again. You can absolutely go ahead and fork this project. All projects that I do as far as streams go are meant to be used as a skeleton for whatever it is that you want. I try to do a lot of the starter work so that way, like, you have an explanation to go with it and you can go on and do whatever you want with it. Within reason, like, don't do illegal things, please, just because it is associated with it. But yeah, so we are at time. I also do this. I touched a lot of files. So I'm like, touch this, touch that, get it done, and then paste later. Because it's an easy way to create files without having to go in and actually, like, put the content in if I'm not super sure yet. But everyone has their own approach. But as far as next stream, we will actually be hooking up ChatGPT, given that I have it working now. We can actually talk more about how there are different ways to work with ChatGPT. My expectation is that we'll actually speed through that one hopefully quicker now that we've figured out the post issue, because those are just very manual creating functions. Copilot will probably help with us. And then and then we'll wrap up and maybe make it pretty if we want to, or at least think about some other project ideas and think about, again, how do we make this a versatile project that you can go on and make it that much better? Because I don't want to see ChatGPT for X at hackathons that I go to. I want to see something better than that. So my challenge to you all, besides the MLH Global Hack Week challenges. So with that, we're definitely over time. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate all the help that you all have given me. I have many things to Google now. And I hope you all can go ahead and have fun. Here's the GitHub link, just in case. And also, I have an event link somewhere. There it is. Here's the event link in case you didn't check in. So go ahead and run and do that. If you haven't, it might be too late. Oops. And yes, I do like to include sharks as callbacks to friends who do shark projects. Yeah. with that, happy Monday. Hopefully, now that we've gotten over the big bug, we can do better. Have a good one, everyone.